start waterfalling through the leases, and then fully renovate, refinance, and try and get everyone their money back.
Dude, so it's this the perpetuity model, what you guys are looking to do? Just like hold long term, get everyone their cash back.
It is. It didn't start out 100% that way. Not gonna lie, but then once we joined here, I went back and watched the perpetuity model video that you'd mentioned a couple of times, and so now we're trending that way because I like the idea.
That's what I'm talking about.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are the rates looking like on something like that these days? I know they've gone up quite a bit. I know in the residential space. I'm just curious what that commercial rates are looking like for underwriting purposes.
so I think we got 6%, which is, from what I understand, not the lowest you can get, just based on the fact that I've never done it before. I don't have a ton of net worth or people backing me. So if you do have those things, I'm sure you could get it down to 5.5%, 5%. But it was good enough for us and our numbers to make the deal work out and still want to move forward on it.
No, that's awesome.
Dang.
I mean, I don't think that's that bad. I know in like the residential world, it's like a perfect borrower is like 7% right now. Just for
Crazy.
like the house they're gonna live in. Yeah. So
That's crazy. And I take it just those are the conversations you're having about the HELOC you were looking at pulling out for that other deal.
oh yeah, HELOCs are basically 10, like the HELOC
10?
on my 40, it's gonna be like
God.
10 to 14%.
Yeah, that's more than inflation at that point. Wow, crazy. Well, dude, Eric, sounds like y'all are freaking killing it. I mean, I can't believe you had a deal under contract, going through the process, raising the cash. Nobody even knew about it. This is like a silent killer over here.
We're working on it. We'll see. Hopefully, moving up in the world someday.
It sure sounds like it. Sure sounds like it. Well, that's cool, man. It's exciting. For those of you guys that joined us after the fact, basically what I wanted to do today was I didn't actually have any curriculum planned. I just wanted to make today like a one-on-one / group coaching session where we just take turns going around the room, talking about what we got going on right now, maybe an area that we're struggling in. And then I would try to give any advice or guidance that I can based on what you got going on. And then if anyone else in the group has anything to add, do that as well. So all kind of just like shooting the breeze but also trying to be educational about it. So who wants to go next? John, feels like you're itching.
Yeah, I'm kind of in like analysis paralysis where I don't know where to start. Underwriting
know.
deals, reach out to brokers. I hope I'm not beating a dead horse here, but I just maybe it's like, let me think about this for a second.
So you're doing both or you're doing neither?
Pretty much neither. A little bit of underwriting deals, but I like struggling with the confidence thing of like what is my role in a syndication? Like, can I run this myself, or do I just try and raise money? But I've never raised money. I've only got 1 4 unit. I just got feel like a little bit of imposter syndrome that I'm trying to get over.
Okay. I feel like if I was in your position, I would just start having conversations with brokers. Because once you build a relationship with the broker, they send you the opportunity, then you can underwrite it. You can't really underwrite something that you don't have. So I feel like the next step would be get the deal flow, get the leads, have the conversations, build the relationships, because everything's about relationships. Then once you start getting at least like one deal, right? Hopefully you have a couple of conversations and someone sends you one deal. Then you can get the repetition and the practice of underwriting the deal and making sure that it makes sense or doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, honestly, you benefit either way. If it makes sense or doesn't make sense, because either way it goes, you have the deal, you underwrite it, you give the feedback to that broker. And at the very least, they're going to know that you're a little bit more serious and professional because of the underwriting tool that you use to analyze it, or your understanding of how to underwrite the deal and the numbers that you came up with and how you came up with that. And if you get lost, if you get confused, if things aren't making sense, then just like shoot me an email or a text or something, and we can take a look at it. But I think definitely to get out of the analysis paralysis is just start having conversations, just like you do with your sales job or anything else. Just having a one-on-one combo with someone who just so happens to be in commercial real estate. And when they start asking crazy questions that maybe confuse you or aren't making a lot of sense, then I guess just you could always ask me, shoot me a text or something, be like, hey, they asked this question. No one's ever asked me this question before. How do you answer it? Or if they're just like ridiculously out of left field, like Deshaun was telling me one time he had a conversation with a broker and the dude was like asking for his proof of funds and all this, that, and the other. And I'm like, why is he asking for proof of funds? He hadn't even sent you a deal. What, how are you going to send him proof of funds for something that we're not even looking at? Like, we're just having a conversation. So if they start asking for dumb stuff like that, then they're probably not someone you necessarily want to be having a conversation with anyway, because they're never going to take you seriously until you show them this dumb proof of funds or close a deal. So I would try to definitely narrow the scope to having conversations with people that want to be personable, want to actually build a relationship and do deals. So you also want to look for people that are higher caliber, that are actually closing deals in the area. I think we talked about that, but just get on the phone, and when they send you a deal or whatever they send you, even if it's like a crappy 8 unit, like 5 unit, like super small, something that's not really in your buy box. Obviously you tell them your buy box, but even if they send you something that's outside of it, I would still take the time to underwrite it and give them feedback, because it just lets them know that you're serious, that you're not just like shooting time or whatever, trying to like waste their time. You actually do want to close a deal. Even and then of course after you send the underwriting like feedback back, if they send you a deal that isn't in your buy box at all, that's what I would say in my feedback, or just call them up or something and be like, hey man, this isn't really what I'm looking for, but went ahead and underwrote it for you anyway, just to give you a better idea of what I'm coming up with, what I'm seeing in the market, maybe to help you with pricing guidance or however I can help you. So here's what I saw, but this isn't really what I'm targeting. This is what I'm looking to buy. So if you could send me something else that meets XYZ criteria, that's more what I'd be interested in.
Thank you. I think it's a good place to start.
I hope that helps. Anyone else got any advice on that? Eric, you got a deal under contract. What'd you do? You just started cold calling, didn't you?
That's how I started. Yeah.
Were you calling brokers or were you calling sellers?
Sellers. I mean, if you put 5 minutes of legwork into it, like I like driving around the area. So I just drive around, write down some addresses, and go back, look up the sellers, look up the tax records, look up the LLCs, the SEC entity search, and see who owns it, where they're at. Send them letters, call them.
There you go. Easy peasy. I don't know if you want to spend time doing all that, but there's also a lot of that you can just do digitally, like even just like Google Street View, drive the Street View online, and see an address or property like, and then look up all that data, get the phone number or something. That's if you want to go direct to seller though, which is beneficial. Obviously, he's got a deal under contract and potentially more. It just takes a little bit longer. So I feel like the best thing to do to get a deal as fast as possible to start getting the momentum moving at the very least is to just target those brokers that already have the relationships anyway. Do you know any brokers in your area that already like that you would want to target, or that you've already had a conversation with or thought about having a conversation with?
Yeah, really just the one that we went and did a tour of the 84 unit a few weeks back.
Yeah.
In Nashville. And that's really the only guy that I've talked to.
Does
Besides, LoopNet, when you have to email or you have to like request the OMs and whatnot. So there's a couple people in my inbox. I'm on some email lists of, deals will get sent my way, but I have not underwritten them and provided the feedback like you're suggesting.
What about that one guy that you walked the 84 with? Have you had a conversation with him since?
Yeah, we get together. I actually had coffee with him this morning. We get together about every couple months. He's another syndicator. It's just going slower than I'm probably not putting the hours in outside of this that I need to. That's probably the issue.
Yeah, I think the feedback, the deals that you already have that you're already getting, just the LoopNet or whatever you signed up for, Marcus & Millichap, Cushman & Wakefield, once they send you a deal, no matter what the deal is, shoot, I would just underwrite it and then respond to the email, because usually it's like directly attached to their email, or their email address or something is provided in there. And you can provide the feedback via email or try to schedule a call with them. Or what I do is, once they send me a deal via email, more often than not, they don't send you everything that you actually need to know. They think they do, but they don't. They send you what they want you to know. But most of the time, they're not sending you like, hey, here's how much the seller actually wants to sell this property for. Like, if it's supposed to be, I don't know, 50K a door, like that's the guidance, the pricing guidance or whatever. That's usually not included anywhere in the OM. It's not included in the emails, not included in the finance. It's nowhere. So it's like, how am I supposed to know what I'm even supposed to buy this property for? Because more often than not, they want you to do the underwriting and then you to come up with a price that makes sense, so that you can like be the market of determining that. So right off the bat, usually when they send me a deal, I'll just respond and be like, hey man, what's the pricing guidance? What's the story here? Why are they looking to sell? Just asking a couple of questions almost right off the bat, just to start the conversation. And then they usually respond like right away, because they're trying to sell the deal. And then at that point, once I have that data point that I need of at least the pricing guidance, then I'm able to more accurately underwrite it. And then we can schedule a call or do whatever. At this point, I have some just brokers call me like all the time. You may not be there yet, but once you start closing a deal or two, the brokers start calling you. You're not even reaching out to them anymore. They're just like pestering your phone, blowing it up while you're on calls with other people. And they're like, hey, I got these deals, man. You remember that deal I sent you? Yeah, it fell out of contract. Let's revisit. All right, let's revisit. You'll get there. Steady consistency of tiny stuff too, right? Responding to emails and stuff like that. All right. Who's next? Luke, you smirking.
I hate emails. At some point, I'll hire someone else to handle my emails. So I had a conversation with my friend in Minnesota, and same story. He's got, so many deals, doesn't know what to do with. It's just like raising capital, and that's how I think we can work together. It'd be great. He's the one that I texted you about. That maybe hop on a call together. I think it'd be really good to show him or teach him about the perpetuity model. And I invited him to the mastermind. So, that would be great. But he said that there's some big wealthy family that's offloading like 4,000 assets or something. And so his realtor connection is like sending him the little stuff, but he could do bigger things. He's just like, hasn't been focusing on that. I was like, oh, well, let's do a bigger deal. He's like, I don't know. He doesn't have the experience with syndication, and I don't either, but like this mastermind is like, we can do it, So
the whole purpose of it.
Yeah. So I think my question, a lot of his stuff is, and Michael was kind of telling me about this, but it's in Minnesota. And we talked more this morning about like, what are the demographics and like, what's the population like, things like that in Minnesota. And it seems like in Minneapolis and St. Paul, like the major cities, it's really not landlord friendly, but on the outer cities, it is. And so that's where he's been doing his investing. And they're usually like around the 50,000 or less zones. And so that's why I don't know where I'm going with this, but
I think we talked about this last time. You were saying, would you invest because it's so small?
Yeah. And if I remember, you were saying it's hard to potentially offload something like that.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
We got lucky because the market was hot and people were buying no matter what the market was. But in a time like now, if now was your exit strategy, it'd be a little bit more difficult. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult just to even get financing. Local banks is typically what you have to go through for something so tertiary, which ain't bad. I mean, local banks are usually pretty beneficial. You just have to have that relationship.
Yeah. So if you want to hold it forever, and the cash was there and it looks like a great deal.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
guess if offloading it isn't a big question because you're trying to just hold it long term anyway, then I would be building relationships with local bankers or community banks or a credit union or something. And I would show them the deal. Like, be like, hey, we're looking at this deal. We think we like it. Here's our plan.
They're
Here's
at
what we want to do.
600, you know, we can bring them to 1,000.
Yeah, here's what we want to do with it. Here's what we think we can do with it. I'd like for you guys to, underwrite it, or I'd like to know, could you give me a soft quote on this and let me know what you think you could do? And with our plan being to refi in 2 to 3 years or whatever, trying to get 100% out, with this being the strategy, right? 600 to 1,000 in rent and whatever we're going to do with expenses and everything else. And here's the numbers. Do you feel like we could get, like, what do you think our refi would look like conservatively? And 3 years from now, no one has the exact answer, but would it be 75% loan to value? Would it be an 8% interest rate? Would we have any IO? Like, is this something you could do a couple of years from now, or would be interested in doing it for this exact deal in this exact location? And if
Mhm.
they're all about it, if they start getting all hype and they're like, it looks like an amazing deal, I'm all over it, then great. I'd be all excited. I wouldn't just take their word for it. I'll try to then have another conversation with another bank in the area, ask them their opinion as well, right? You don't want your entire business plan pivoting on one bank, but that would be a good point of reference to be like, well, they're really excited about it. They're local. Here's something like the soft quote or whatever, the hard quote that they gave me on what they said they could loan us.
Mhm.
Seems like it's a pretty sweet deal. Let's do it. Let's get under contract or whatever you got to do. I take it there's probably not a lot of competition on this deal. Like, if you waited to get it under contract, you're not going to lose out on the opportunity or what?
It sounds like they're slowly offloading the estate. And so
Okay.
not everything is available right now, but he's taken 10 units, 12 units, 16 units, and is ready to do more. And well, he's been streamlining, but I was like, we could do more. He said, there's a 48 unit. So here's a gut check. 48 unit for 2.8 million.
I don't know. What is that per unit? 2.8.
$58,000 a door. It seems like a good price right off the bat. And
Do you know anything else about the market? Like other data points of what things are going for on a per door basis?
no, so that's the homework that I asked him. I was like, can you talk more to the realtor about that one? Find out more details.
Yeah, ask the realtor what the cap rate is. She may not be super entrenched with cap rate analysis if she's primarily in the single family space. But if this realtor, I said she, could be he, this realtor, this person is focusing on commercial side of things, then they may have a better understanding of cap rates. So maybe not ask what this particular deal is selling for on a cap rate per basis, but just like, hey, what's the market cap here? What have you seen trade over and over again? And then could you even provide me like a comp analysis of what you've seen trade? Maybe this person will have access to a CoStar report or something. Could you pull something for me that shows here's all the different deals that have sold and cap rates and price per door? And then if everything else is selling at like 35K a door, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll get more info on that.
Well,
My role in that would be raising capital. So I think that's where I need to just dedicate more efforts.
So speaking of that, I think my plan, we may have, let's see, between now and the end of the month, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more meetings between now and the end of the month. That is, if y'all want to have a meeting on Halloween night. Probably not. Yeah, probably not. So we have 4. We have 4 more meetings between now and the end of the month. So thinking we have a couple more parts on branding. Thinking we have 1 or 2 more meetings on underwriting. And then I'm thinking we jump in November into this challenge. start capital raising. I'm trying to think, does November make sense to spend 30? I mean, it's a 30-day month, so that would be perfect, but is it a good month with the holidays to try to raise capital? That's what I'm thinking. I don't want to like set everyone up for failure by just starting this out. Bad timing. But I also don't want to keep delaying it either. I don't want to just be like, well, it's not a good time. Well, it's not a good time. Well, it's not a good time. So with that said, we're probably just going to end up trying to do it
twice. Once in November, practice, and then again next year.
Yeah, I think we'll probably just try to do it in November.
It could also be good timing because the stock market is doing horrible right now. So if we're talking about alternative investments in November, it could actually be a good time for people to be like, oh yeah.
Right. It could be a great timing. It could be a bad timing. I don't know. I think it'd be a pretty good timing for me because I'll be raising for like 3 deals. So it'd be perfect time.
Okay.
You blasting out there, letting people know what I got going on. But for you guys, I just want to start like the education process, right? Like I want to start us actually learning about the capital raising piece, and going through that challenge is going to be a massive part of the education there. And then obviously the challenge itself, us taking that daily action to see success over the course of that 30 days. So then basically every time we come together for a meeting that month, we'll just be diving deeper into either what we've learned the last couple of days or what people are struggling on, or just some other detailed specific topic about capital raising or something. Like the whole month will just be raising cash. So sounds like a plan to me. So anyway, that was a tangent. So Luke, did you have anything else?
Maybe just a question, and we don't have to talk about this on this meeting, but it could be another meeting since we're going into capital raising. But it's like if you're doing Facebook Lives, what do you say to not cross the line of SEC regs? You know,
You just can't have a deal. Like if you don't have a deal under contract that's going to be SEC regulated, say whatever the heck you want to say, because there's no guidelines to breach because you don't have anything. You're just the dude on the side of the road that claims he's got this awesome deal that people need to invest in, but you have nothing. So there's no laws to break because you have nothing. If you had a deal and it was under contract and you had done all the SEC docs, and then you start blasting out and come to find out you end up raising capital from those people from publicizing when it was only a 506B. That's when you get into all the gray area and you get in trouble. But if you're just out there being like, look, this is what we're doing. Here's what we got, perpetuity model, syndications, multifamily, like you're just talking about you, then there's nothing that anyone can do. Or like there's no repercussions, I should say. No like negative things there. Now, one thing I would just stray away from personally is trying to make any promises of like returns. So I wouldn't be on your video being like, yeah, we give out an 8 pref and here's the splits and here's this and here's, I would just talk about something else. Like the returns are great. You can maybe talk about how long the perpetuity model is or whatever model you're going to choose, or how you're typically doubling investor returns, and just talk high level about tax benefits. But again, the whole concept with the challenge is not to be very logistical. So you don't want to be out there doing videos all the time about educating investors on come invest with me because it's great and here's why it's great. More so than that, what I focused on and what I think will benefit everyone is just focusing on you and your family and what you got going on. And like you can talk about real estate without being boring, like without being logistical about it. So almost every one of us is already doing something in real estate, right? Like Luke, you've already closed the deal, you're working on the deal. Eric and Austin, y'all are working on a deal, raise the cash. You can talk about that. Like John, you're getting ready to start doing whatever. You can talk about how you're in a mastermind, talk about how you got all this education, talk about whatever, like just talk about your your journey even in real estate or what you've got going on. When I did the challenge the first time back in June of 2020, I was right in the middle of the fourplex. So I was just like, yeah, here's this unit that we're renovating. We're going to end up doing countertops here, and we're going to replace these floors, and we're going to do this. And maybe one day would be a video of me just like literally doing the work, like me, one of those quick like time lapses of here's me fixing this. Yippee, before and after, right? Like just random stuff of what you got going on in your life that isn't necessarily, it's more like a journey and an inside scoop into you and learning more about your personality traits, your hobbies, your kids, your spouse, your girlfriend, whatever you got going on, like just talking about it. And then people, it's kind of like your own personal reality show. So then people connect with you emotionally, start seeing what you're talking about, like your story, like your journey, like you as a person, like what you got going on, and they want to learn more. That's going to be what I'm going to do, right? I'm just going to talk about deals we got going on, what we're doing, what I've done in the past, podcasts. There's so many different things you talk about that aren't just like, hey, look, you can make a ton of money in real estate. Come invest with me. Because that just isn't, I would be uninterested if I was watching a video and someone was saying that. I'm like, pass. Does that help? Sweet. Who's next? Austin, you haven't gone yet. Casey, have you gone?
Hey guys. So yeah, not too much going on for me. Just it's been good watching what Eric's doing for the 12 unit and helping raise a little bit of capital for that. And also just kind of in the same boat as John right now, have to analyze more deals and reach out to brokers and also just catch up on all the lectures. But I did have one question for you, Josh. So say hypothetically, if I came across a good deal here in San Antonio, how do you go about getting someone with a net worth backing to sign on the loan? Because to what I understand, you need to have typically like at least the value of the property backed by a net worth, right?
Yeah, a net worth. Well, first and foremost, there's a potential for me to fill that role when you find the deal, if it makes sense. If we want to jump in with you, we can do that. Or if not, I mean, partnerships is just it. Like just finding other people in your network, outside of your network, going to local real estate meetups, getting on virtual Zooms and webinars and other things, meeting people, going to conferences, LinkedIn. Like you just never know where you're going to meet someone. Like I met one of my business partners on Bigger Pockets, so Bigger Pockets, and I met the other one through my mentor. So that's another thing. If the time comes, you get a deal under contract, and it doesn't make sense for us to partner with you, and you haven't found a partner that makes sense from a KP role for that particular deal, then I can reach out to my network and just start like brokering introductions for you, finding someone that would meet the role for you. Now, the goal is not to do that. The goal is for you to be able to have the capacity to find those people. But if not, then I don't want to see you fail, right? We want to be successful here. So you get access to that as a last resort to make sure that the deal is actually successful. So as far as like how to build those relationships, I don't know, just like you build any other relationship. Our primary KP is Matt, and he's the one I met through my mentor. So met him just because we needed help like raising cash on our first deal, and he brokered the introduction. We had like brunch with his daughter showed up because he had to take his daughter to like swim class or something, and we were just hanging out, shooting the breeze, talking about the deal that we had, talking about his experience, talking about our experience, goals. Our personalities got along real well. I mean, it was literally like brunch, like it was 80, we were 80% of the way there pretty much already, because it was the referral from my mentor in the first place. And then it was just making sure that he was actually a good fit, right? Having the brunch. So after the brunch, we're like, all right, let's give it a shot. And then that was it. Like we jumped in head first, and he raised $700,000 in like 2 weeks, and we only needed 150. So we're like, this is going to be the beginnings to a good relationship. So it's just going out, meeting people. And like the meetups, I think are good, especially now that those are happening again. Are you going to any meetups in the San Antonio area?
Yeah, there's one like once a month.
Yeah.
I've only been to a couple of them, but yeah.
If there's no one there doing anything in multifamily, then you could stick with the virtual route. So try to go to a virtual group where they've got like breakout rooms or something. Have you ever been on Yona Weiss's like little mastermind, whatever thing he's got?
Nah, I haven't heard of that.
His little, if you go on LinkedIn and you look up Yona Weiss, Luke, you've heard of Yona Weiss, right? Yeah, if you look up it's YONAHWEISS. Yona Weiss. All of it, find his posts or whatever he posts about all the meetups that he has. He typically has like 75 to 125 people that show up, and he has it every week. He has a virtual meeting every week. Typically has some kind of speaker, and then there's just a bunch of like active, maybe passive investors on there. That's just like free networking. So you can potentially find someone there. I don't know. There's a lot of other things that go on as well. And then if you're, I think we talked about this last time we were talking about branding, but the Bigger Pockets thing of just like posting in the forums, seeing what other people are posting. You can go to Bigger Pockets and just search like your area, like San Antonio, Texas, see how many people are saying something about San Antonio. Find an investor that's in that area that looks like I'm sure they probably posted about how many deals they've closed or all the success that they've seen, and then just reach out to them, be like, hey, I'm a newer investor or experienced investor, whatever you want to say. You got a deal under contract, just raise some cash, just did this. And I'm looking to scale. We may potentially need a KP in the future, so just wanted to connect. I don't know, whatever. Just natural networking there. And then it takes more time and it's a little bit more costly to go to like conferences. But I feel like without a doubt, conferences is where you're going to find the best people, like the people that are top notch, just killing it in the space, or is like the exact person you would need to partner with. Of course, it takes a couple of days to take off from work and travel somewhere. Then it costs money for the travel, and hotel stay, and the ticket itself to go to the conference. But there are a lot of conferences now that are actually virtual too. So you may not actually get to be there in person, but you get the virtual access, and they have the breakout rooms there as well. Remember back in 2020, I went to one that was virtual and met a ton of people. I met a couple of my investors. They ended up being investors on the first deal we had. So I hope that helps.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Sweet. KC, did we already talk about you? Are you the last one?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before everyone got on, I have a call with the broker on Wednesday, and then I'm just kind of niching down my criteria, of the kind of assets that I'll be looking for in the Austin area. And that's basically it on that front. I just basically broker outreach is going to be the first step, and then obviously underwriting those deals. Of course, there's a training in the background, but just underwriting those deals and giving feedback.
So you underwrote any deals yet, or you haven't been sent any deals to underwrite?
I haven't been sent any one of them. I've just been going through anytime there's a T12 that you've posted in the older before I got in, I just been trying to not to look at the video and underwrite those deals, on my own.
Yeah, that's good practice. I didn't think about that.
So that's what I've been doing. And then I've been part of, I think me and you talked about this, been part of an underwriting class every Saturday with an operator that I've been in contact with for about 6 months, who actually wants me to raise cash for him. So that's how that relationship started. So I've been just kind of learning underwriting from him for the last probably 2 months. He's put me on his little Zoom, meeting, and he goes through all the deals that people send and he underwrites them. So that's where I've been kind of learning from both you and him on that front.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Much knowledge and education as you can get, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, outside of that, I have been thinking, not too intently, but surface level thinking about us all getting together in person and doing something. I don't know when, I don't know how. I've thought about the beach, who doesn't like the beach? I've thought about a yacht. Who doesn't like a yacht? Thought about just like a beach house. I've thought about actually doing like staying at a spot that actually has like a conference room where we could all get together. But I'm like, who wants to be in a conference room unless it's a legit conference, you know? It would be in a natural setting. I've thought about there's like a race car track that comes, I think like once a year to the area, to the local racetrack. And they bring Porsches, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. They bring all kinds of cars. It's kind of expensive, obviously, but it'd be kind of cool to freaking drive a sports car. Anyway, I've been toying around with the idea, but I wanted to get, obviously everyone's not here, but I wanted to try to get some feedback of what you guys think about meeting in person. Because if we did decide to meet in person and we did something really cool, like a yacht or a giant beach house or something, like it's going to cost some money. So obviously if all of us go, or if a handful of us go, we can make it as inexpensive as possible, but nonetheless, it's going to cost cash for us all to get together. So curious what you guys think, if that was something that actually interested you guys.
Would love to get
Silence.
together. Don't know that I want to drop any yacht money to get together.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So no, I'm not thinking it would be like thousands
Uh,
and thousands of dollars, but I've talked to a lot of other people that have masterminds that meet up in person, that do things like what I'm thinking, the ideas they've given me, beach house and yacht and other cool stuff like that. And they have a similar setup that we do of having a mastermind like this, where you pay to get in. And then when they have their in-person meetups, I think they said they charge like $2,500 or $2,000 or something to actually meet up in person, to pay for whatever it is that you got to pay for. So it depends on how many people are actually going to go. Obviously, I would basically just find out what the total cost would be and then just divvy it up between whoever was going. Be like divide by 12 or however many people are going. Or you and your spouse or your family, and they can go. However you wanted to do that. I just thought it'd be fun for us all to get together, but not if it's going to be too much money or too much time or too much of a hassle. I don't know what
Kind
you
of
think.
depends on the timing for me as far as getting time off from work. But if that's something that like you're willing to look into and kind of put together some kind of plan or whatever, I think that'd be awesome. Definitely be about that.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be till next year, especially since we're coming into the holidays. Maybe like spring breakish times, or I don't know, April, something like
Another
that.
spring break. Go back
Something
to
like
the
that.
college
Next
days.
year.
This working shit ain't for me. I'm not about no more spring breaks, no more summers. Should do one of those.
Mhm.
maybe
I don't
we
have
can
any-
pool like 50% of our acquisition fees from the first deal.
We got to get more people closing deals, man. We got to get more of these acquisition fees coming in. I don't know. Again, it very, very preliminary thought process here. I haven't done too much digging, but I thought it'd be cool just for us all to get together, and actually like all meet in person. Because there's probably like 4 or 5 people that are in the mastermind that don't get to make a lot of the calls. So you guys haven't even met them, but they're like, I meet with them like not in person, but I meet with them one-on-one, and they have access to the Google Drive, and they're watching all the videos and they're doing the homework, but they're just like in the shadows. Like I want to get them out of the shadows, get us actually all together. I'm sure it would be hard to actually mix everyone's calendar too, to make a date work, but I don't know. We would figure it out if that's something that you guys were interested in. Can't tell if you're interested, Luke. You're just like making like a smirk face.
I think it'd be fun. The later in next year, the better the pot. That would be great. But I mean, I would love to come to any one of these.
The later next year, like summertime, you're saying? Or
Yeah.
like, okay.
Well, I mean, like April and on, that should be good.
Okay. Yeah, April probably makes more sense because we tried to do spring break. There may be a bunch of people spending time with their family because their kids are on spring break. We'll figure it out. Yeah, I don't think anyone in here. Wait, yeah, Luke and John, you guys have kids, but John, your kids aren't in like school, are they?
son's in school.
Okay. How old is
but,
he?
I've got 3 kids. He's 4.
Oh, so is that like kindergarten?
Yeah, sort of.
Like pre-K?
Yeah, pre-K, half day,
Okay.
3 days a week, half day. He'll probably be going full 5 days next year. But to your
First
point,
grade
it's
next year.
like learning colors and all that stuff. He's beyond colors, but yeah.
Okay. But then Luke, your kids are probably in school, huh?
Philip too.
I'm thinking I'll be able to bring a wifey to that. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It'll be fun.
Because before then she might not come because we won't be married. So
Mm.
That's why you said
Woo!
later in the year as possible. I see. I see.
You gonna make it your honeymoon?
no.
With a bunch of other dudes. That's the honeymoon. Come on out. That would be funny. I just feel like it'd be a good time. I'm trying to decide too if we all got together what the plan would be. Because there's so many different ways we could skin the cat. Like, do we want to bring a bunch of speakers in, like outside people in to just give us as much knowledge as possible, or do we all just like, well, I build the curriculum of what we'd be discussing and just like present it to the group, and however we would do that, I don't know. I haven't figured that part out yet either.
I'd like to maybe do more of a mindset, mastermind focused thing. If we're gonna get together, like not to get like emotional, but like something not as necessarily as analytical or technical, like on technical skills, but more on like mindset, goal setting, like a goal setting retreat, if that makes sense.
Right.
Could we
Yeah.
do like a vivid vision weekend? I don't know. I know you
Dude.
talked about that book a little bit, but that's
would
kind of
be-
like, our few days away from real life and get together, get to know each other, figure out what we want to do with our lives together.
That'd be a freaking blast. So I'm trying to think too where we go, because we can go to the beach. Everyone likes the beach, but a lot of people like the mountains too. A lot of people like being in the middle of nowhere in the woods, a really nice big fancy house. We're all just like secluded from it all. Maybe we go skiing, or I suck at skiing. I've never been skiing, but maybe we just do something fun. I don't know. There's fun stuff to do at the beach, like rent a boat or something, but I don't know. I'm trying to think like at least 1, maybe 2, like really awesome activities if we all got together, to where we're not just like all chilling at the house, not doing anything. Like we all get together and then we at least do 1 or 2 like really cool things that definitely made it worth the while, outside of just like getting to connect.
My first thought is like a national park or something, if we did do mountains instead of beach. Hiking, I don't know if that would interest
Options.
anyone.
So I know with it being so preliminary, this is probably not even an answer you guys would have, but budgets. I mean, I know we're not trying to spend an arm and a leg, but it ain't gonna be cheap to do anything super cool. Probably like, if I had to guess, if I had to just throw a number out there for like a weekend or a couple days doing something fun, maybe 12 of us, we split it 12 ways or 15 ways, $3 grand, 3,500 per person. And that I'm hoping that'll include flights, the place to stay, fun stuff to do, the food. I'm hoping it'll be all inclusive, but I don't know. Just off the cuff number.
Probably more than I could do right now, but I'm
Yeah.
not. I won't be the Debbie Downer.
I just don't know. I haven't looked into it enough to know.
I'd have to take my wife on a vacation before I could do that. But I like where your head's at. I'm definitely interested in it. I don't want to speak for the rest of the group, but
I
that's
mean, we could always try to do something more simple too, like to try to make it as budget friendly as possible. Like it doesn't have to be extravagant. We can all get together. We could just get together at the beach and just be at the beach, just hang out by the water, go swimming, like in a nice big house. I don't know. Go eat some nice seafood, right? It doesn't have to be extremely extravagant, but at least we all could get together.
So I'll just throw this out there. I went to a conference earlier this year with one of my mentors. It was called the Replace Your Employer Conference. And it was up in a ski lodge It was like the Cliff Lodge at Snowbird. It was early, like March, late March, and so there wasn't any snow. You couldn't go skiing, but it was like $350 plus your hotel, like the cost of the actual seminar, which is like I think a 3-day event, was like $350. But then, you know, if you paid for your lodging, it was like $150 a day. And then if you flew in, I just drove up because I was in Salt Lake, but if you flew in, you know, that's costs for flying. So just gonna throw those numbers out there because they were quite a bit cheaper than 3,000. But
Yeah, that sounds much more affordable.
we also didn't do like, oh, we did. So we had like a presentation every day. We had some analysis, and then he'd gotten together with a lot of people in the community and like had deals for us to analyze. We would analyze the deal and then actually go on a tour bus and go look at the fix and flips or the rentals or whatever they were, and see the deal, talk to the owner, and then get the actual numbers. So like we analyzed it, see if it would work, and then we would go talk to them and see how it was going, you know. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
If cost is
There's
a
some
huge
ideas.
issue, I mean, I don't know if it is or not for everyone. And we do like the beach. I got a big Airbnb in Perdido Key. They could probably sleep most everyone. I could block that off for a weekend as long as we don't do the summer. Summer would hurt the bottom line a little bit, but you know, if we went springtime, that would probably drop prices a little bit for everyone just staying there.
How big is this Airbnb? You holding
So
out
it
on us,
sleeps
man?
12.
Like
So I don't know. I mean,
like
I don't
6
know how many
beds?
would be there, but there's 6 or 8 beds, something like that.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we don't want to get cozy, it could sleep at least half of us. That way, we're only splitting the bill on foot in one more place.
That's true. It's a thought. I'm trying to think. My geography's all off. Perdido Keys, that close to like Destin, Pensacola area?
Yeah, it's right by Pensacola. So it's, I think I'm like 3 minutes from Floribama, that
Oh.
bar by the Florida-Alabama line.
Yeah. Sweet. Options. Yeah, I'll probably throw something out in Slack too. Just let everyone bounce ideas back and forth. Everyone's on Slack, right? Everyone in here? Yeah, I think everyone in here is on. Bounce ideas off. Just throw the idea out there and see how many people grab it and do something with it. Definitely trying to make it as budget friendly as possible though. Not trying to like make it cost a lot. But I just felt like getting together would be really cool.
No, definitely.
Just where, when, how much, what to do. all the questions. Cool. Well, outside of that, today's Thursday, so Monday we'll be reconvening for the next part in branding. And then probably that following Thursday would be underwriting again. And again, try to do the capital raise in November. So get everyone set up for that. Prepped. We may spend that Thursday before, because we got the 27th. Then the following Monday is Halloween, which we said we probably won't have a meeting. So then we wouldn't really meet again until the 3rd, but we'd want to start the challenge on the 1st. So potentially that Thursday, we might do like a pre-induction to capital raising. Like get a little pre-knowledge or something. I don't know. I'll think about it. But